Welcome to AskPsychSessions, where we ask some of the best teachers in psychology questions from you, our audience. If you would like to send in a question or an idea for a conversation, please visit bit.ly/AskPsychSessions. That's bit.ly/AskPsychSessions, all lowercase, no spaces. And here's our next question. This question is from Anna Ropp, our very own, STP's very own Anna Ropp. And this has to do with online teaching. And Jason, I'm going to look to you first because I know you're passionate about online teaching and you've been asking some interesting questions about it lately. So what are best strategies in online teaching? Or do you have advice for instructors who are new to online teaching? And have the rest of you taught online? Yeah. Okay, everybody has. Oh, okay. Well done. So advice for instructors who are going to teach an online course.
I think the first thing you have to realize is that probably the worst practice you could try to do is to try to just take what you do in the classroom and essentially like stuff it into the computer and try to replicate it exactly online like you do it in the classroom. It's a different animal. It's a different modality. You really have to be very intentional about, how am I going to replicate meeting these learning objectives, but not necessarily replicate exactly what I do in a classroom environment in a face-to-face situation.
Totally agree with that. I teach online abnormal psychology and actually exclusively online for the last 5 years or so. And so I think you can't take exactly what you do face-to-face and, like you said, stuff it into an online platform. But what I try to do is I try to think about what was good about this thing I did in class. And so I have an activity for abnormal. It's my favorite thing where people go and interview someone with a psychological disorder and then talk about it with the class. It makes this person kind of have an experience of getting to know someone and understand what it's like. And then the whole class gets to hear 25, 30 stories about what it's like to actually live with this disorder. Because one of my concerns about that class is it's kind of stigmatizing sometimes to just talk about symptoms. And I love that assignment, but that was a presentation in front of the class. So how can I do that in an online environment? And now I actually like it better online. So now they have a blog with their group. And each person writes a blog about their interview, and then everyone else in that group is required to ask some questions about that. And some of those conversations are incredible and amazing. And I think actually the fact that they're not having to do public speaking helps. So thinking about what is it that I do in a face-to-face, if you're translating face-to-face to online, what is it about that that's really good? And then how am I going to tweak that so that it actually works in an online environment is kind of the approach I'd ask people to take.
And I wasn't raising my hand that I have a lot of experience that I was raising my finger that I've tried it once. And based on that experience, I would encourage individuals not to try to do it by themselves, to seek out assistance from whatever they have on their campus, what they have an STP, what they have out in the larger teaching community. Find somebody that is doing it and doing it well, get a mentor, and learn from somebody that knows what they're doing.
I think maybe one other thing to add on to what I said earlier was once you teach online once, or once you teach a new prep online for the first time, it's kind of like any class, small incremental changes, semester to semester to semester. What's one thing I can do to improve this? Because I know the first time I taught intro online, intro has a ton of content to begin with and a ton of skills to begin with. But
let's hope so.
To try to translate all of that into an online class all at once was very difficult. So, I had to make some intentional decisions about, okay, I'm going to maybe sacrifice this chapter because it's just going to, for my own sanity, I'm not going to be able to get everything in this first time, but I'll circle back in the summer and build a module for that content for the future students.
No, actually, let Jason keep the microphone because I wanted to ask you. So your first comment was about don't take your current course and just transport it and drop it into online. So you've clearly thought about this a lot and you're passionate about it. And I have a feeling you're probably a mentor to other faculty members on your campus and other places. So tell our listeners a little bit about what are the common mistakes that you see. Can you be a little bit more precise about What are the newbie mistakes that guys like me probably make when we take our face-to-face and we drop it online?
I think some of the online classes I've seen that were situations where maybe somebody took a camera to their face-to-face class and just filmed a 90-minute, just set it up in the back and recorded their normal 90-minute or 50-minute or whatever their class period is lecture and loaded those videos online, or just took the PowerPoints that they were using. And I mean, I've seen online classes where it was literally, I've uploaded my PowerPoints, I've uploaded the test bank items, see at the end of the semester when I give you a grade. You should be, that's, I don't know what else, so there's really no interaction with the students. There's no feedback to the students. There's no assignments that the students have to work with the content. So that would be one mistake, is just loading the lectures, loading the test bank, and hitting play at the beginning of the semester and then hitting the grade at the end.
Just as a side point, I will say that we've probably all figured out how to do it moderately successfully. Eric's shaking his head no. But I'll just say that for me, the interteaching method really works well for me online. I think you do need to find some sort of strategy that helps students to learn, and they are out there. There are best practices in online teaching, and I'll just say that when I started teaching online, I took a year-long series of courses on online teaching, and in fact, when this question came out on Twitter from Anna, Dr. Bob replied and said, "Take an online course yourself." And that was the most, I agree with him totally. That was the most important thing I ever did, was take an online course, because I learned, and I had a really good instructor, and I learned what worked. And I think there is almost just a knack for understanding what is going to work and what's not going to work. And I'm not sure that everybody has that in them to know what's going to work and what's not going to work.
Yeah, I would echo Bob's advice in terms of, if you're going to teach online for the first time, probably the best thing you could do is find somebody at your institution who does it well, and not only ask them to mentor you, but ask to enroll in one of their online courses and have the student experience of navigating a course and submitting assignments and reading the instructions, because some folks are much more intentional with user experience designing the course in a way that's user-friendly.
What do you think about Quality Matters, or whatever the new title is for that?
I'm honestly not super familiar with it.
Okay.
I know our e-learning folks have done some workshops on it, and I've had some of my courses evaluated by it. They did okay, but I haven't looked into that particular system, because there's a lot of different systems for evaluating the quality of an online class.
Yeah, I have an online class right now that you kind of sort of described, that has a PowerPoint slides and 160 students enrolled, and 14 assignments, and so there you go. Can we turn this off now?
Well, I mean, I think you hit on one of the challenges with online classes too, is institutions often look at online classes and think, great, I don't have any physical constraints of a classroom. Let's load this puppy up to 160 students, which I would immediately say is not one of the best practices. I mean, online classes, the recommendations that are out there is 18 to 20 students is ideal. Our institution caps all our online classes at 25.
One of the great things about learning management systems these days, though, is that you can make a 60-person class feel like a 20-person class, right? It automatically divides into groups. There are also strategies like, I hate traditional discussion boards. Here's a topic, everybody discuss. That just feels like jumping through hoops to me. But there are and ACT, places like this, is where we have these conversations with others, where some people have found really cool ways and engaging ways to get students to participate and collaborate, and it still looks really different than it is in the classroom. So you can't hold that in your as equal in your mind, but there are some really great ways to problem solve this. Well,
I was just gonna talk about an experience I had at NITOP last year, going to a PI with Jason Eckerman, and it was great. It was about I'm not going to say this right. Substantive regular and substantive interaction and how that is a defining characteristic of a high-quality online class. So I agree, you can have 160 people in there and you can divide them into groups of 10 and all they really have are these 10 people, but they're not going to have me. 160 people can't have that much of me. And so if you believe that a high-quality online experience includes feedback from an instructor or interaction with an instructor, then it has to be smaller. Like that's the only way we can give regular and substantive feedback. And so I really appreciated that pie and think about it a lot in terms of how am I providing that. I'm not just saying, oh, I like this discussion. No, I'm in there like actually working with the students.
And I have found, I've tried, maybe not very hard, but I've tried to do discussion boards. And you're right. You could use tools to have subsets of 20, even in my group of 160. But then I get stuck in the minutia of, well, okay, I have to reply to 2 different posts, and what's the minimum word count that I have to reply to? And now I am grading discussion posts on minimum number of words times 160 students times 2 discussion posts per week. And I have not been able to pull that off in a meaningful way. That's not a skill set I have yet acquired. I know I am not doing a good online job of teaching. It's not a skill set I have yet. Yes, and I don't think I have the skill set if I had a group of 20 students.
And this is probably open another can of worms, but there's a lot of activities. I don't want to remove the instructor from the class, but I use peer review for a lot of stuff that I do for my face-to-face classes. And should I ever teach another online course, there's going to be peer review and peer evaluation built in, whether it be through essays, through posts, using Flipgrid to do video responses. And not everybody has to comment on everybody's post, but assign 5 or 6 per assignment, and at least to date, seems to have some bit of value to that.
Well, that was enlightening, and I'm glad we solved the online education problem here today. Thanks, Anna, for the question.